Hi, welcome to A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. My name is Kirk and I am the lead editor of UK metal publication Scream Blast Repeat. Today I'd like to look at the Smashing Pumpkins at the turn of the century when Virgin Records stopped them releasing a double album not once but twice in the year 2000. So I'd like to recreate what I think this album ought to have looked like based on the songs produced by the group in this period. So what am I talking about? Let me give you the background to the album they released in 2000 called Machina, the Machines of God. It will soon become clear that rock fans were denied a masterpiece for various reasons. Let's take a look. The Smashing Pumpkins had a lot to prove after the commercial disappointment of their 1998 Adore album. Though well received by critics, its piano-driven melancholia failed to impress the rock lovers of Generation X, many of whom had already moved on to nu metal as the next exciting thing in music. Band leader Billy Corgan knew he needed to win back the fans that had deserted them, yet he would continue to do things on his own terms. His grand idea was a concept called Machina, with the plan being another double album to rival 1995's sensational rock masterpiece Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. And with drum titan Jimmy Chamberlin behind the kit once again, everything looked in place for the Smashing Pumpkins to reset the clock on rock with another daring opus. Unfortunately, Virgin Records had other ideas. They feared it'd be too difficult to market and too expensive. What could have been the most brilliant of comebacks needed to be downsized onto one CD, and it needed some radio hits. After all, this was the era where Radio Play and MTV could lift unit sales. Released on February the 29th, 2000, the slimmed-down album titled Machina, the Machines of God still came in at 13 tracks and 74 minutes. It was a nominal commercial success, selling 160,000 copies in its first week of release and storming to number 3 in the US Billboard album charts. It also shifted 100,000 units in Japan, France and Canada and went silver in the UK with sales of 60,000. But it failed to win back the zeitgeist, and reviews were mixed, with Kerrang awarding it 3 out of 5 stars and Pitchfork giving it a lowly 4.2 out of 10. At the other end of the spectrum, Metal Hammer UK enjoyed the record and granted it a 9 out of 10, while Rolling Stone gave a positive verdict of 3.5 stars out of 5. So what were the main flaws with this record? Machina had some undoubted high moments of quality, but its structuring had a clumsy running order. Cyber metal songs like The Everlasting Gaze, Heavy Metal Machine and The Imploding Voice were good, but in short supply on an LP of 13 tracks. It seems Billy couldn't decide whether to play the rock vampire or the indie alternative Supremo, the result being a side A that pondered between Black Sabbath, New Order and The Verve. Side B was not a victory for coherence either. Electronic noise rock affairs like Blue Skies Bring Tears and The Crying Tree of Mercury rubbed shoulders with the 10-minute prog rock favourite Glass and the Ghost Children and the drab acoustic pop of Wound. Ending with the upbeat, jangly guitars of The Age of Innocence was a strange decision. In all, too heavy for the Oasis and Matchbox 20 crowd, too indie for the rock fans, and not metal enough for the metal brethren, Machina was a mixed bag. If ever there was an example of the right album at the wrong time, the band's 1998 Adore effort would take the prize. But Machina felt like the wrong album at the wrong time in the year 2000 because of its track ordering, and that looks even more obvious in 2025. Questions of what could have been are especially poignant here because the band released a sequel, Machina 2 Friends and Enemies of Modern Music, 7 months later as a free internet album. Once again, Virgin refused to sanction it after the sales for Machina dried up, leading to Billy putting it out on his own Constantinople Records imprint and limiting it to 25 vinyl copies only. Many fans first learned about the MP3 format and how to download music from the internet thanks to this record. Comprised of 25 songs, many of them new, Machina 2 arrived as a 14-track album plus 3 EPs of B-sides and alternative versions of existing songs. It also contained some of the heaviest work to date, All those teenagers that bought Korn and Limp Bizkit in their millions, not to mention those that experienced the grunge awakening at the beginning of the 1990s, were not aware that Billy had the materials to satisfy their hard rocking tastes. Drop tune guitar classics like Dross, Cash Car Star and Lucky 13 would have been high points on Machina the Machines of God. Likewise, as the B-side to lead single Stand Inside Your Love, you could argue that Speed Kills was worthy of a place on the album, if not as a direct replacement for Try 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 as an MTV pivot. The Smashing Pumpkins faithful will be pleased to know that a 25th anniversary box set edition of Machina, The Machines of God and Machina 2, The Friends and Enemies of Modern Music is now available as of the 22nd of August. Billy has reordered the box set into 80 songs and changed the track listing for Machina 1. But we're going to do something different and ask one of those counterfactual questions of history. What if Virgin Records allowed the band to release a double album on the February 29th, 2000, based on the 40 songs that made the cut for Machina 1 and Machina 2? Let's slim it down to the 20 best songs and produce our own CD 1 and CD 2 so it can take its place next to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. There are some things to be aware of before we start. First, the structure of this double LP is my personal opinion, and my tastes are slanted by a love of the band's heavier material. Secondly, Billy had in mind a concept about a rock star living in a solipsistic bubble where his inner madness gets the better of him, but we'll need to abandon this if we choose the songs based on their tempo, dynamism, and mood rather than as pieces in a chronological story. To keep things intelligible, we'll call this double album Machina the Machines of God Redux. The aim is to rearrange the structure of the tracks and give it the coherence and cultural importance it ought to have garnered at the time of its release. So let's start with CD 1. Track number 1 on CD 1, The Everlasting Gaze. Of course, we must keep The Everlasting Gaze as track 1. Its drop C tuning and snarling cyber metal style opens the original Machina album with a message: the Smashing Pumpkins are back and rocking as hard as ever. I love the drum rolls on this song and the middle 8 where Billy goes for an a cappella verse instead of a guitar solo. It'd be good to use track splitter software here to see how they create the ethereal guitar effects in the chorus, and let's not forget the fuzzy bass line underneath the distortion. You can see why this was a video single at the time. Track number 2 on CD 1, The Imploding Voice. One thing the original Machina album got wrong was the momentum, in my opinion. It might surprise some, but I've moved The Imploding Voice from track 9 to track 2. Why? Because the high-tempo drums, vicious staccato riffing, and grungy guitar tone feed into the chorus release with ease. It also retains the drop C guitar tunings from track 1. The vocoder effect on Billy's voice sounded unique at the time, and it's not out of place 25 years later. This is an underrated song in the Pumpkins catalogue. Track number 3 on CD 1, Real Love. So here we have the first song from Machina 2 to replace the epic lead single Stand Inside Your Love at track 3. As you'll see later, I want Stand Inside Your Love to achieve maximum impact elsewhere on this double album. My reason for inserting Real Love here is because it has the same dynamic flourishes and galloping drums as Stand Inside Your Love. Billy's shoegaze influences also come through here, as well as his love for The Cure. So we're 3 tracks in and the tempo is high and the guitars dominate. Track number 4 on CD 1, Saturnine. Billy's Depeche Mode influences are scarce in both Machina releases, but this is the one song that showcases his love of space rock with squelching synth bass. It's from the Adore era, and the version on Machina 2 is a lo-fi take on the song. Let's take the liberty to add the Adore version here, as it never appeared as a B-side on any of the singles from that 1998 record. A great album must have variation, and adding a piece of grooving synth rock at track 4 widens the palette. Track number 5 on CD 1, The Sacred and Profane. If I'm being honest, this song used to pass me by as a piece of major key rock written for the radio. But listening to it 25 years later, I'm struck by the sophistication of the chorus and the angst in Billy's voice underneath the luscious melodies. I'm impressed how he draws out the word enough in the chorus. Will our love ever be enough? You get that twang, don't you? That nasal angst in his voice. And probably one of the most underrated songs from this era, along with, as we said, the imploding voice.
Track number 6 on CD1, Dross.
It's criminal how Dross was not on Machina 1. It could even have been a single. This is the Smashing Pumpkins at their strident best as the rock gods of Generation X. Grunge had died by the year 2000, but this song retains some of its vigour while moving towards the lower tuned guitars dominant in the scene, certainly in rock and metal at the time. You know Billy's talking about himself when he sings, "Can anyone be you? Does anyone want to be you?" And can you think of a Pumpkin song from this period with as much rock swagger and attitude as this effort? A fucking classic.
Track number 7 on CD1, Let Me Give the World to You.
Let's continue delving into Machina 2 for substance at track 7. My choice here is the lo-fi melodic noise pop of Let Me Give the World to You. Billy's keen to demonstrate his songwriting credentials as a tunesmith, isn't he here? And there's nothing wrong with placing a couple of these numbers in the track listing on a rock album.
Track number 8 on CD1, White Spider.
Remember how I said Billy couldn't decide whether to play the rock vampire or the indie alternative supremo on Machina the Machines of God? Well, here's an example of the former. The industrial metal adrenaline of White Spider is perfect for track 8. Listen to the fuzz of the guitars and the gothic fangs of the vocals. This is yet another example of how the Pumpkins could have emerged from the drama of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness as a cyber metal outfit. Oh, how things might have panned out for the band if they continued giving their rock audience the sustenance they craved. This is an example of when they did it.
Track number 9 on CD1, Age of Innocence.
You might have noticed by now that I'm fond of contrasts on a rock album. We've had the chaos of White Spider, so let's go for something upbeat and sentimental as the penultimate song on CD1. Age of Innocence was a bit of an underwhelming choice as the final track on Machina, but it served the next song, as you're about to see.
Track number 10 on CD1, the final track, Glass and the Ghost Children.
So we need to end CD1 with an epic, and what could be better than the Joy Division meets noise rock affair that is Glass and the Ghost Children. Coming in at nearly 10 minutes, its peaks and troughs are as good as anything in the band's repertoire, and Billy's uplift for the chorus in part 1 of this song is sensational. The concept of a rock star on the verge of madness finds its identity here in the middle part, where Billy imposes a recording of a fictitious interview with a journalist over a spooky piano before resurrecting the final part of the song as a clenched jaw introspection from the heart. One of the best songs they've ever written.
Okay, to summarise CD1, the key here is balance. We start with 2 songs that could easily insert their way into the playlists of the new metal and industrial rock bands ripping up the charts in the year 2000. By adding the metallic numbers Dross and White Spider, we can work from these anchor points to bring in the more melodic songs like The Sacred and Profane and Age of Innocence. And of course, we give Glass and the Ghost Children the place it deserves as the closer for CD1.
Okay, let's go to CD2.
Track number 1 on CD2, Eye of the Morning.
So after the somber ending to CD1, we need something to pick up the mood again. What can be better than the single that never was? We're talking about the U2 inspired Eye of the Morning with its distorted 7th and 9th chords and chaotic emo guitar solo. You can hear Billy reflecting on his life as a person who went from outcast to rock star and Generation X spokesman who's now in danger of languishing in the scrap heap. It's that element of tragedy that makes this such a great song.
Track number 2 of CD2, Lucky 13.
My decision to follow Eye of the Morning with the morbid doom metal of Lucky 13 is to add despair to the happy tears of track 1. It's also the heaviest riff from any Pumpkin song in this era. Jimmy Chamberlin's work on the rack toms is sensational here. Its only weakness, this song, is that it ends too abruptly when a guitar solo or a new riff fade out might have been more coherent.
Track number 3 of CD2, Try Try Try.
Believe it or not, Try only just made the cut for this double LP, but the strong storytelling lyrics and catchy chorus make this mature pop song irresistible at track 3 to counter the metallic punch of Lucky 13.
Track number 4 of CD2, Cash Car Star.
I said that momentum is important, and the Pumpkins are a rock band first and foremost. Therefore, we'll go with the adrenaline grunge metal of Cash Car Star for track 4. I've always seen this as a sequel to The Everlasting Gaze for its acerbic power and razor-sharp riffing. Well, everyone's going to be a big star, everyone's going to drive a fast car, everyone's going to be in charge, because everybody's business is everybody's business, snarls Corgan in between the staccato slashes of guitar. It should have made the cut for Machina 1, and it receives prominence here on CD2 at a crucial part of the listening process.
Track number 5 of CD2, The Crying Tree of Mercury.
The Crying Tree of Mercury is one of the strongest songs on Machina 1, and we can hold it back until the middle point of CD2 as an introspective piece of shoegaze rock with bleeding heart vocal pleas and a layer of keyboard, you could almost call it abstract electronica going on in the background as well. Very minimal, but listen to it with headphones and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Track number 6 of CD2, In My Body.
This might be the most controversial choice of this reimagined double album. At over 6 minutes in length, it glides like a daydreaming song in the manner of The Cure, but with no filters. The recurring arpeggio passage over thick mid-tempo drums in standard timing makes this the most mystical song to come out of the Machina sessions, and we can indulge it here as a piece of escapism.
Track number 7 of CD2, Heavy Metal Machine.
It was a key anchor point, wasn't it, on the original Machina at track 7, but we're putting it at track 7 on CD2. The unashamed piano to Black Sabbath in the main riff is its greatest asset, and it shares the same morbid tone as Lucky 13, so another reason to put it on CD2. I also like how it goes for that morbid tone before transitioning into a melodic rock chorus. Darcy Retzky's bass here is monstrous in the mix, as is the weight of the drop tune guitars.
Track number 8 of CD2, Speed Kills.
There are two versions of Speed Kills, the official B-side to the Stand Inside Your Love single, and the angsty rock version known as Speed Kills But Beauty Lasts Forever from Machina 2. We're going to go for the ethereal rock of the official B-side with its luscious backing harmonies from Darcy and its orgasmic pitch bends in the fade out at the end. Listen how Billy lays out his main vocal lines in the verses and then transitions into the chorus with a belting snarl for the last line. I see this as the song The Cure never wrote. It's no exaggeration to say it could have been a single, which might explain why it appeared on the Japanese version of Machina, The Machines of God.
Track number 9 of CD2, Blue Skies Bring Tears.
I thought long and hard about this one, but I think track 9 is the best place to continue the mope rock melancholia. And Blue Skies Bring Tears encapsulates how the Pumpkins found a unique sound outside of grunge from 1996 onwards. Here they embrace their gothic roots and experiment with embedding noisy guitars into the background. Billy's sorrows are at the front of the mix, and his nasal voice carries it in his trademark signature of angst. Another underrated song from the band.
The final track on CD2, this is track number 10, Stand Inside Your Love.
So we come to the last track on CD2, and it needs to be an epic finish, doesn't it, to the record, to the listening experience. And you didn't really think I was going to leave this gem off of our reimagined double album, did you? What better way to end the record than with the most obvious hit single and unofficial sequel to Tonight Tonight. It's also the most smashing Pumpkin song from this era, full of arms to the sky singing and epic drum flourishes. The distorted guitars in the chorus are awash with abstract melody, but Corgan steals the day with his finger-curling declaration, "Who wouldn't be the one you love? Who wouldn't stand inside your love?" This is how you end an album with a dramatic exit from the stage.
So let's summarise CD 2. There's a wealth of material to choose from here, and the spine of this record relies on the melodic songs at track 1, Eye of the Morning, track 5, The Crying Tree of Mercury, and track 10, Stand Inside Your Love for the main exterior. In the gaps, we plug it with the more aggressive rock songs and insert Speed Kills at track 8 for maximum impact. It has a more schizophrenic feel than CD 1, with efforts like Lucky 13 and Cash Car Star following the radio-friendly numbers. So let's display the track listing one more time for our version of Machina, the Machines of God Redux. The songs I've chosen for CD 1 in running order: track number 1, The Everlasting Gaze, track number 2, The Imploding Voice, track number 3, Real Love, track number 4, Saturnine, track number 5, The Sacred and Profane, track number 6, Dross, track number 7, Let Me Give the World to You, track number 8, White Spider, track number 9, Age of Innocence, and then the closing track on CD 1, track 10, is Glass and the Ghost Children. And the track listing for CD 2, it starts at number 1 with Eye of the Morning, track number 2 is Lucky 13, track number 3 is Try Try Try, track number 4 is Cash Car Star, number 5 is The Crying Tree of Mercury. I've put In My Body at track number 6, track number 7 is Heavy Metal Machine, number 8 is Speed Kills, but it's the official B-side version to the Stand Inside Your Love single, track number 9 is Blue Skies Bring Tears, and we're ending it at track number 10, completing the double album with Stand Inside Your Love. So let's assess what we've done here. In my opinion, we've now eliminated the flaws of Machina 1 by balancing it more towards the cyber metal and electronic noise rock without sacrificing the mature pop efforts like Try 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 and Eye of the Morning. It should keep the guitar nerds happy and placate those that appreciate the gothic and synth rock elements first introduced on 1998's Adore album. So let me know what you think. Would the Pumpkins have made the transition from the grunge to the nu metal generation with higher sales and a wider legacy amongst the teenagers of the fin de millennium period if they'd gone with a heavier album in the year 2000? How would you have structured this based on the 40 songs that are available? Let me know what you think. Go out there and by all means create a playlist based on the order of these songs that I've created for you. Take care.